Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
For centuries, ancient cultures knew the secrets to longevity, vitality, and healing. Now, modern science is catching up. Ageless Blueprint is a podcast that will reveal the modern secrets of better health and a better life. Join Dr. Eldred Taylor here today and every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time on W4HC Radio at W4HC.com. As together we discover the secrets to better health through science and spirituality. A Better Life with Ageless Blueprint starts now. Here's your host, Dr. Eldred Taylor.
Okay, this is Dr. Taylor, and this is the Ageless Blueprint. And we are so blessed to have someone here, Jackie Roberts. This is someone who I met, and we just kind of got aligned. The reason why I think it's so important because she is actually an insider in the pharmaceutical industry, and she actually understands how the pharmaceutical industry looks at women and how they may have not actually done everything for women that they should. So this is Jackie Roberts. She spent 30 years in the pharmaceutical industry, and now she helps high-performing women get through difficult stages in their life. And I'm just so happy to have her here, and I'm hoping that this is something that can enhance our audience and hers. So, Ms. Roberts, how are you doing?
I'm doing great today, Dr. Taylor. Thank you so much. And
Well,
I just want to make sure your viewers understand as well. I came from a medical background, so I spent years in laboratory medicine before I transitioned to pharmaceuticals. So I know the lab side is along with the other side of things as far as what's going on in the pharma and the market industry as well. I retired from that industry in November of 2025. So here I'm helping women every single day.
well, good. Because I think the reason why we align because I'm, trying to do the same thing. You know, the lab part, you know, the drug and medicine part, and then you also know the spiritual part. And so that's that's kind of what I've been trying to do is to have objective testing, to have this understand how it affects the body, how you can change it, and then that also helps you to connect spiritually. So that is my whole thing as a doctor trying to connect body, mind, and spirit. So that's enough about me. I really want to know how you got down that transitional road to where you are now, where you're actually helping other women. So let's hear your story.
Well, I'd love to share that. I can tell you that I'm 63. I'm proud to say that because I know I look good. But one of the reasons why I look good is because I figured it out. A lot of women go through what we call the change or menopause, and they never figure out how to transition because they have 15 minutes of time with their healthcare providers. Thank you, Dr. Taylor, for being one of those providers who actually spends the time to figure out the
Yeah.
puzzle, but mine didn't. So when I went through menopause, I had, surgical menopause that stopped my periods, but then I still had the symptoms related to it. And I had to really figure out the puzzle myself to be able to thrive again. And other than that, I was just blanking on words at work. I was having symptoms that were disrupting my life when I was talking to healthcare providers or professionals in my industry. And once I figured that puzzle out, I figured out that other women didn't know it either. So when I came out of the industry, I said, how can I help women with my laboratory medicine background, my pharmaceutical background? I used to sell hormone replacement therapy as well, along with understanding the market when it comes to managed care, because a lot of women don't understand when they're in front of that provider. And even if they have the right question, they may not get the answer they're looking for, or they may get lab results that say that they're normal. And they go home and they say, well, I feel horrible. What am I supposed to do with that? So I want to make sure that those women who are high performers, which all of us are, have somewhere and someone to be able to help them figure that out. So that's why I started Faithfully Strong Wellness. And basically, what I do is I'm the menopause strategist for that woman to help her figure out what's going on with her biological, physiological state at the moment and how she can change that to make it better. Not necessarily starting on HRT right away, but to figure out where they are first. A lot of times they're highly stressed, as you well know, which their cortisol levels go through the roof and they don't even realize that that's what's happening to them. So I've found some success. Some women are really happy that they've met me, and I want to make sure I help some more.
Yeah. So, that's I think where we are aligned because I started looking at this because I saw people on Facebook group and these women are so confused. They're saying, "Hey, they're asking other women to help interpret their lab results." And I'm
Yes.
like, "Oh my goodness." And I see one that, they'll say, "Hey, I tried my estrogen. It was up here." Oh, well, and these women are I was like, "Wow, do I don't see people talking about that about gallbladders or,
No.
or heart. You don't see people, trying to give other people medical advice. But, that's why I started this campaign called Hormone Confusion, is that everybody seems to be confused about hormones. And to be honest with you, I was confused about hormones when I finished my OBGYN residency. I talk about this a lot, but
Mhm.
there's a lot of confusion, and this is I talk about my labs are normal and I still feel awful. Where did I get that from? I got it from all the patients who came in who were telling me that. So it's a
Yes.
lot of the women that you see. So, but anyway, can you kind of tell me, because most of the time people have a personal story. It's like I was
Mhm.
doing all of this, and that was mine. I was doing the things for my wife, who's a high performer, and again, all women are high performers, I believe, and it
Yes.
wasn't working. And so that's when I started trying to figure out something else because I was seeing it 24/7 in my household that
Right.
it was doing all the things that you're talking about. So what made you transition from, hey, I'm selling this HRT that the pharmaceutical industry is telling me to promote, and how you kind of said, hey, maybe this is not exactly what I should be doing.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to note that because there's been so much that's happened since I used to actually sell the drug that I did. And one of them is a study that came out that made women feel like they had to come off of their estrogen completely because of a black box warning. And so by the time I got to a point in my life where I could go on an estrogen, that estrogen no longer existed on the marketplace really in the form that it used to. And I
Mhm.
can tell you that my symptoms that came on board were, for me, weight gain. I've always been very athletic and I would work out like no tomorrow, do more working out, and I would gain weight in my middle. And I didn't understand that it was the cortisol that was happening from my job and the cortisol from me being stressed, trying to work out more, that was causing me to gain more weight. Why? Because I had less estrogen. So once I got with the functional medicine provider, I began to understand that you have to make sure you're balanced first. And your provider can give you a blood test or even a saliva test, but you have to also understand that those ranges are looking for disease. They're not looking for your optimal performance. So the healthcare provider will look at those ranges like they did for me and said, okay, well, everything is okay. And I said, well, it's not okay. And I advocated for myself and I found a functional medicine provider who said, okay, these say one thing, but your symptoms say another. Your symptoms speak louder than your labs do. And that's where we have to be able to advocate for yourself, like I did, and say, this isn't right. I'm gaining weight like I shouldn't be. I'm bleeding all day long and for weeks at a time. I'm bleeding heavier than normal, or either I'm having periods at 55 when I didn't have one at 54. So all
Yeah.
these things pop up for women and they don't understand it's the transition of their estrogen, their testosterone, their cortisol, their progesterone. There's other hormones involved as well, as far as your follicle stimulating hormone is going down because you're going through the actual change. And that's what makes your ovaries actually produce the egg. So for me, being as smart as I was, I was at a quandary. And once I figured out the puzzle by talking with a functional medicine provider and looking at the results with her, Then I got on something that helped me. I'm on a bioidentical hormone. I love it. I've been on it for years. I will not go off of it, and it keeps me functioning.
Yeah.
Um, but not only that, my diet had to change. I had to make sure that I wasn't putting things in my body that were causing some of the issues that I was having. For instance, I'm not really good with gluten, but my dad was a baker. So how does that work out? That means
Yeah.
I know how to bake, and I know how to bake very well, but I only have it during the holidays. And the minute I do, it affects my body. So I don't
Right.
have it as much. Like my son wants banana bread. I said, you got to make it. I got everything out for him to make it because I'm not. So,
Yeah. So I think we talked, and I told you that, I look at it a little bit differently,
mhm,
for 20 so this is what I'll tell you. I mean, when I did my OBGYN residency, we never really looked at blood because the blood was so confusing. Because one of the things is that premenopausal women could have irregular bleeding, they could have endometriosis, and you would look at their blood work and it would say is normal. And
right.
he's like, okay, that can't be right. Okay.
Yeah,
And then then I start seeing people who are postmenopausal, they had endometrial cancer and their blood estrogen would be normal. And I'm
right.
like, that doesn't make sense. Okay.
Yeah,
So then I had a patient came in and asked me if I knew about saliva testing. And I said no. And I started looking at it. And this is the thing that changed me is that I finally found a lab that helped me match the symptoms. Because this is my thought is that symptoms come after you've had a long line, you've had a lot of dysfunction. I mean, things have
yes,
gone wrong for a while by the time the symptom shows up.
right.
So I started saying, how can I get there before the symptom gets there? Because now this is what I'll tell you. When I was doing my residency, we stopped estrogen if they had a positive mammogram.
Hmm. Yeah, that's what
That
happened
doesn't make exactly,
because of that
but that
study that came out.
well, this is no, this is what I'm saying is that the reason why there was a problem is because we didn't understand the balance between estrogen and progesterone.
Right,
That's my whole thing. Is that estrogen causes growth, progesterone slows down the growth and increases development. So
right.
you're right. The stress causes you not to ovulate. When you don't ovulate, you don't make progesterone. When you don't make progesterone, you don't you don't have anything controlling the growth of the lining of your uterus. And also, ovulation is the menstrual timekeeper. So, if
Yeah.
you don't ovulate, your body doesn't know when to bleed, how long to bleed, all of that stuff.
Mhm.
So, what I found in saliva testing is that you can look at that balance of estrogen and progesterone. And if you keep that in balance, you can get you can prevent the symptoms from showing up because you're helping them to maintain that balance the whole way. And the
Absolutely.
only reason why I like saliva, I mean, one of the reasons why I like saliva testing is that it shows the tissue level. And you're a laboratory person, okay?
Mm,
So you're a laboratory person, but I've just noticed that the saliva testing matches the symptoms. And sometimes when the patient can see it, they're like,
yes,
oh wow, this is real. And
right.
then if you do a treatment and you see that the balance is there before they ever get a symptom, because and I don't want to belabor because I want to hear your story, but what I find is that once if they don't see it and they're not sure of what's happening,
Right.
and we go by symptoms, what happens is you give somebody something, you get them to come back in 3 months. You say, well, that didn't work. Then you try something else, and then you come back and say, that didn't work. So now you're 9 months down the road and you're still trying to adjust symptoms. I've found that if we can have some good data to start with, we can decrease some of that trial and error. So
Yes.
again, that's just been my experience. And I know there are a lot of people who do a lot of things with blood and all of that stuff. And if they're having success, that's fine. But sometimes that doesn't always provide answers because that's what I see on Facebook is that people are trying to get information from other people. So
Right.
anyway, you can tell me what you think about that.
I see the same thing you see in those groups because I follow some of those groups as well. And it's interesting how many times women will ask, what do you think about this blood result, to someone who has no background on looking at that. And typically
Right.
what I will always say, go back to your healthcare provider. If you don't get the answers you're looking for, find a functional medicine provider who can. And I can tell you,
Hmm.
when it comes to blood work, that is what most doctors are actually ordering. They'll order a panel of blood work for you. Well, that blood work doesn't always give what saliva testing will provide. And also, you have to remember as a patient that managed care really decides a lot about how much a healthcare provider feels they can do. Okay, it doesn't mean
Hmm.
they
Yeah.
can't do it. Feels they
Yeah.
can do, because you, Dr. Taylor, are doing it the right way, and you're a provider. So
Yeah.
a provider
Yeah.
can give what you're looking for if that provider walks outside of that box of everyday medicine. I
Yeah.
remember providing the book to my healthcare provider and saying, "Can you look at this?" Because it was outside the box. I don't think she ever did. I'm not sure if she did or not. But I do
Hmm.
know that when I couldn't get what I was looking for from that provider, I went to another one. And I've been with the one I've been with now, gosh, probably 15 years. And she
Right.
has made sure I've been adjusted appropriately. So I think that's what the lay everyday patient needs to understand, is that you may not get what you're looking for at that provider. And if you walk out the door with normal labs and they say, well, here's an antidepressant or here's a sleeping pill so you can sleep, you need to find another provider,
Yeah.
period.
Yeah. So this is kind of jokingly, but I used to say this is gynecology made simple. And again, I'm not bashing doctors. This is what I was taught, and if I never looked outside that box, I would still be doing it. Okay, so
Right.
I'm not bashing doctors. They're doing what they were taught. I was doing what I was taught, and so that is definitely not what I'm saying. But I did get out of that box, and I start because medicine insurance makes you have blinders on. Is
It
that
does.
this is the only way that you do it. And so I know what I was about to say. I used to say gynecology made simple. Is that when is that this is what I when I look back and to see what was I doing, if any patient came in, if they were 40 or less, it doesn't matter what their problems was, irregular bleeding, fibroids, doesn't matter. You gave them birth control pills because that's the only thing that we had. Okay.
Mhm.
So if you were over 45 or 50, you would give them uh, Premarin if they didn't have a uterus, and you give them Premarin Provera if they did.
Right.
Simple. Okay. If none of that worked, then the next thing is surgery. Cut something out, an ovary, a ablation, or whatever.
Yeah.
And
That's me.
I would say, yeah. And so, but then I would also say, hey, look, then you would get an antidepressant so you wouldn't feel so bad about how bad you feel.
Hmm.
And so but to be honest with you, that is what we did. Birth control
Right.
pills. That, and so I'm like, that's very simple. Instead of looking at what became non-functional. This
Right.
woman was functional for all her life. Now something has changed. Okay.
Mhm.
And it's not because she had a decrease in antidepressant medicine. Something changed. What
Right.
changed? Her hormone levels change, her stress level change. As you get older, you have more stressors. Okay, you
Hmm.
got kids, you got husbands, you got elderly parents. And so all of that is affecting these women. And
Right.
I like saliva testing, especially about cortisol, so I can show them this is what life has done to you. It has
Hmm.
worn you down. You can't respond like you used to. I used to deliver babies. I get up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and do a delivery. It was exhilarating. When I got into my 40s, it was exhausting. I said, I can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
So everybody, men and women, have this midlife crisis, I believe. So
Mhm.
anyway, so let's talk about how you join, why you called your program Faithfully
Mm.
Yours.
Yeah. Faithfully
Okay.
strong wellness.
Mhm.
That's a great question. I have to tell you is that what I found, I've been in the church all my life, and what I did find is that a lot of women felt like it was a time in their life that they were feeling deserted. And I can say it's because within the church itself, no one really talks about a woman in the change. Okay. If you think about the issue of blood that the woman had who touched, Jesus's garment, that's about the only time you hear about it in the Bible. And
Yeah.
so women were just silent and suffering alone. And they were feeling like, during this time that God deserted them. and he hasn't, faithfully
Mhm.
strong means that you still can have the faith to move through this transition and be the strong woman you always have been. And yes, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. You're just going into a different part of your life at this time. And so I wanted women to truly understand that their body was still a temple and they still had the ability to be able to communicate with it, but it was communicating to them differently. And
Yeah.
to understand that they could still have the faith to keep moving through this time period and to actually bring it up in churches. I mean, now I happen to belong to a very huge church, one of those ones that has 15 locations. And I have found that even the men want something because they want to understand why their woman's going through this so that they can support them. So I've been able to put together resources with scripture so that the man also can help during this time through a couple's guide. And that's important because women otherwise will just feel like they're all alone in this. I asked my husband not too long ago, do you know what menopause is? He didn't. And he lives with me. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And that's what.
imagine most women.
Yeah, and that's why I say everybody is confused.
Mhm.
Everybody, and again, I did a lecture called "Great Divorce." A lot of divorces happen during this time because of this miscommunication.
Right,
Men think they're Men think they've been deserted because their wife has changed,
right.
and they feel neglected. They feel like, what happened to my wife? And
Mhm.
I used to get Christmas cards from guys who'd say, "Thank you for giving me my wife back."
Oh,
Okay, and so that's what I'm talking about. I mean, and again, why am I doing this? Because that's what I've experienced in my 40 years of marriage. I've gone through all of that, all of that stuff. And you talk about being in church. My dad was a Baptist minister, so I grew up in
mhm.
church. And I actually did a lecture because I was an OBGYN about the woman with the issue of blood. And what Jesus said to her is that your faith has healed you.
Right.
Okay. And so
Yes,
it wasn't, so he was saying it's not necessarily me, it's your faith in me. And
right.
so I used to say she had to have the knowledge that this was a person who could help. And that's
Mhm.
why I say this is how I try to make it where it's practical. You had to find someone that you had faith in. Now, like I said, I know it was Jesus, is that, but you found a functional medicine doctor that you had faith in, and
Right.
your faith helped to heal you. Okay, so that's how I used to say that. She had to have the knowledge that, oh, this person can help me. And
Right.
then she fought through and said, I have faith. The faith healed me. And I have to say, that's the same way with anybody. People have to have faith in me that I know what the heck I'm talking about. Okay,
Yeah.
and you had to have faith in me to say, okay, I'll go on his podcast because I have faith that this may help somebody. So
Mhm.
that's how I look at it. I try my best to say, how can scripture and spirit live in me and not just be something far off that I want to do. So anyway,
Absolutely.
that's my thought process. And the other thing, I think when you can add science to prove that the
Mhm.
things in the Bible are true, and that's what's exciting to me, is that a lot of these spiritual doctrines can now be tested. And we're finding that, and the reason why I call this aces blueprint is that the blueprint of how we're supposed to live has been written for the ages.
Right.
So that's why I say there's a lot of just truth that just makes total sense. And now we're able to say, oh, yeah, I don't know how these people knew this, but
Mhm.
this is how we're supposed to live. So, anyway, I think it's time for a break. We usually take a break here, and then we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit more. Okay.
Okay, great.
All right.
Fantastic.
Great. Mhm.
We are going to a quick break, so stay with us as we explore the ageless blueprint right here on W4HC Radio and Talk 4 TV. An ancient secret with a modern twist for better health and vitality. Dr. Taylor will be right back. Taking care of your health shouldn't mean taking a handful of pills every day. At Taylor MD Formulations, they create doctor-developed supplements that combine the best natural ingredients so you get the results you need with fewer pills. Taylor MD Formulations is backed by science, designed for real life with real results. Less pills, better health, doctor approved. Shop now at TaylorMDFormulations.com and discover smarter supplements for smarter health. That's TaylorMDFormulations.com. We are back for more of Ageless Blueprint. Once again, let's join Dr. Taylor for more insights and research on the ancient secret to better health and a better life in modern times. Here's your host, Dr. Eldred Taylor.
All right, I think we're back, and we're here with Jackie Roberts. She is a 30-year veteran of the pharmaceutical industry. She's very knowledgeable about laboratory medicine, and we've been talking about what when labs say normal, but God says listen, navigating medical gaslighting with discernment. So let's talk about that. That's the title. Let's talk about what you mean by God says listen, and how do we navigate gaslighting with discernment. But Ms. Roberts, I want to say one thing before that. I used to say that women, there was a statement that said women have an innate sense of spirituality, and they can attune to the wisdom within themselves and the larger whole that has been systematically ignored by medicine.
Right.
And so I really believe in women's intuition. And I think that's what you're talking about, discernment. And I do think that is a gift from God to women. They have intuition and insight that, quite frankly, men just don't have. So
Right.
why don't you talk about that?
Well, we do. We can feel things, I think, more than men
Mm-hmm.
can. And in
Mm-hmm.
the case of medical gaslighting, it's really the sense of this isn't right. There's something wrong when someone tells me I'm okay and I don't feel okay. So the discernment within a woman as she prays and as she guides herself through this process of the transition of perimenopause and menopause tells her to do something different, or either she's going to continue to suffer. So like you said, during that time, myself, I had two young men that I was raising. They were boys, 6 years apart. I had this career that was, going through the roof. I was getting promotions consistently. Had a wonderful, still have a wonderful husband after 34 years. We made it
Mm-hmm.
through. And at that time, I felt like something's not jiving here. I shouldn't be bleeding through all of my protection within 5 minutes. I shouldn't
Mm-hmm.
have these symptoms of this joint pain that I've never had before. I shouldn't have the shoulder that doesn't want to move. And why are my ears ringing? So they were all different types of symptoms. And there are probably over 40, 50 symptoms you've heard of, Dr. Taylor, that come into your office that women have.
Mm-hmm.
And those symptoms are what tell you that something is not going right. That
Mm-hmm.
discernment there lets you know I got to do something. And so the medical gaslighting after a while makes you start saying, I cannot listen to this provider anymore tell me that I'm okay and take an antidepressant that makes me feel worse a lot of the times. Because if you are on an antidepressant, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work correctly for you if you don't need it. Because there are brain pathways. I used to actually talk about this to healthcare providers as well. There are brain pathways that it's meant to work on, but if those brain pathways are already fixed and they're fine, it's not going to really do much for you.
Yeah.
So then you end up having another drug in your body. You're like, well, I feel crappier on this than what I did. Okay, then you get a sleeping pill. So these all help you understand as you're going through this process that what I'm being told about what's wrong with me, which is gaslighting, is not true. And so that's where you have to take that discernment that and go somewhere else. And what I think the difficult part for women is that they don't know where to go. And that's why they go to the Facebook groups and they say, well, who do I go to? And they hear about the different online um, industries that are in place that will provide them insight. But a lot of times when they go to those places, they're hit with something that's not covered by managed care. So then, if you're a woman who can't afford it, you're suffering more.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you then go
And
back to what?
yeah. And I always say, don't let the insurance companies kill you. Is
Right.
that sometimes you just have to take a leap of faith, and you
Mhm.
say, And that's what I think that's what the issue of blood is all about. You have to take a
Right.
leap of faith, do something that you normally would not do, like maybe take a little money out of your pocket, because you know what? That information, you talk about your shoulder hurt, 40 something symptoms. And a
Right.
lot of times in medicine, we try to give 40 different drugs for 40
For
different
40
symptoms,
different
40,
symptoms, you're right.
but everything, and I think that I may have convinced you of this, everything that's top of the food chain is stress.
Yes.
And stress, we wrote a book called The Stress Connection. Is connected to every symptom that you're talking about. The
Mhm.
joint pain, if you don't have enough cortisol, that's a natural anti-inflammatory. So you don't have that. Stress is screwing up your ovulation. It's screwing up it's disrupting your digestion. It's
Yes.
disrupting your cardiovascular system. And you can measure that through heart rate variability. And that's why I'm saying you can measure stress. I say it's hard to manage what you cannot measure. So I
Right.
really decided that I was going to be a stress expert, because it said 75 to 90% of all visits to healthcare practitioners are for stress related complaints or disorders. That was a study I read back in 2003. And I said, okay, if I understand stress, I can help 75 to 90% of my patients.
Right.
And I've found that to be true. And so I've been trying to say this message for a long time. And then I said, here's another way to do it. Why don't I have people who are already trying to do this, who are in Facebook groups and whatever? Why don't I try and teach them some of this? They learn it, because I know things spread faster woman to woman than it
Yeah.
does doctor to woman.
Mhm.
Know that.
It does.
So that's when I saw you. I'm like, okay, you're already trying to do this. I can give you a extra measurement step, and then and that may help some of your people. So
Mhm.
that has been my new kind of direction. Let me find people who already have an audience. Let me teach them another little a measurement tool in their toolbox, and it may just be able to help some of those people that they previously had not been able to help. And another thing that I always say is, I tell patients, don't ever do anything that you don't feel comfortable about, especially with women. And I said, if you don't feel comfortable, I don't want you to do it. Either I need to explain it more, or you just need to not do it because it doesn't feel right. So
Right.
I really do honor women's intuition, because I've learned that the hard way with with my wife, with her telling me things that she feels and I didn't understand it. And now I understand that feelings are important.
They
So
are.
yeah. So anyway, so why don't you tell people how they can get in touch with you,
Mm.
and how you can help them. And then I think, because I saw your message, that you do want to talk about how you might be able to add this. So why don't you
Yes.
talk about people? Why don't you talk about how people can get in touch with you, and how you see that this might help people? Because look, I can't see everybody. So if
Mhm.
I can help you help someone in your realm, see, to me that spreads my message a lot faster. I don't know what you think about that.
Well, I've always said that you're usually the best at something that you know very well. And so
Mm-hmm.
that was me. I can say I went up to the level of director within the pharmaceutical industry. And that meant that I was one of those women who was handling that stress every single day. My gut was affected by it. My whole body was affected by it. Either I was not eating in order to make it to the planes that I got on to get to the next spot I need to get to, so that's
Yeah.
why people say, "Oh, well, she's thin." I'm like, "Well, you don't realize I don't eat the junk in the airport. I eat a bar, so that means I don't probably get enough calories during the day." So,
Yeah.
but what I really help women do is understand through their faith, their nutrition, by through their fitness first. Let's look at that, what's going on there, and then also let's look at what's going on with you inside. If you're not with the correct functional provider, how can we get the testing to you? So you can understand what's going on with your actual biome and your not only your biome but your biological state, to be able to get better. So people can find me at faithfullystrongwellness.com. And as I think about that term together, faithfully strong wellness, it's really meant for you to understand that when you come in there, like Dr. Taylor said, to have the faith so that somebody can help you get strong again and you can be well again. And what I
Mm-hmm.
really focus on is being the menopause strategist that you don't have. Most women have 15 minutes of time with their healthcare provider. And after those 15 minutes, there's a knock on the door by the medical assistant who says, Dr. Taylor, your next one is ready to go. So
Yeah.
they spend their whole year waiting for that one visit. I spend a lot of time with my clients because I want
Yeah.
to make sure that I understand where they are first by giving them an assessment, and then understand also their feelings about it. Understanding, what are they discerning? What if they not, what if they said that no one's listened to them about? I think about how many
Hmm.
times I shared what was going on about me. I saw 7 different specialists. I mean, my goodness, if there was a specialist I didn't see, it was probably a cardiovascular one who I recently saw, but everything was fine for me. But I can tell you that you go from one specialist to the next because that healthcare provider says, oh, well, you've got that ache in your back, go to an orthopedic. Oh, well, you've got this issue going on with your nerves, go to your neurologist. So you end up going to all these specialists, and then you still don't get your symptoms really figured out. You got a lot of copays that you pay. So
Yeah.
Faithfully Strong Wellness helps. I help women as their strategist so that they're not running around trying to get supplements or retail information or social media information that's leading them in the wrong direction. I strategize as to where you are, where you want to be physically again, and helping you realize where you would not be ever again, and also helping them understand about some of the things they've heard in the media. For instance, the study on estrogens, where women are now afraid of taking estrogens because of what the black box warning was, and they're like, "Oh, well, if I take an estrogen, that's gonna mess me up, and I cannot have too much estrogen." I'm like, "You don't have a lot of estrogen right now because you're going through menopause, and if
Right.
something was really going to bother you when it came to estrogen, you made more estrogen over your lifetime than what you could
Yeah.
possibly be affected by with the little bit that the healthcare provider is going to give you." So I help them understand that hormone replacement therapy should not be called that because there's no way you can replace all of those hormones, those wonderful hormones that you made. But there is a way that we can get you balanced by understanding through testing, like you do the cortisol testing through saliva. Thank you, Dr. Taylor, for doing that. And
Yeah.
through understanding through the other testing what's going on, plus your symptoms, and then
Hmm.
getting you back on a nutritional track, a sleep track, understanding that yes, you have to get up and eat first thing in the morning, and you can't starve yourself. And you've got to get some sunlight on your body to change your circadian rhythm that's all messed up so
Yeah.
that at the end they're thriving instead of just feeling like they've got to get up and just survive to get through the day.
Yeah. I talk about how your body is always in a two-way communication. Your
Hmm.
body is trying to give you signals, and you give your body signals about what's going on in the environment
Yeah,
because your inside doesn't know what's going on outside. It just goes by what you hear, what you taste, what
right.
you see, and what you think. And so that's what I talk about is that we have to give our body better signals, the sunlight, and I'm actually going to start a course about how to communicate, two-way communication. This is what your body is telling you, and this is what you are telling your body. And
Hmm.
another thing I want to say, we call it faith. You know, you've been in the church. We used to say, "Take your burdens to the Lord and leave them there." And then I
Hmm.
look at things like "Letting Go" by Mel Robb. She's saying the same. Letting
Yeah.
go means let go. Don't worry about things. That's what is in Philippians. Be anxious for
Mhm.
nothing, and people are making multi-million dollars off
Right.
of saying what we've been
Yes.
saying the whole
For
time,
years. Yes.
yeah. And so that's what I'm talking about. That is telling your body that things are going to be okay, and so
Yes.
it can settle down. And so I was like, wow, it's all these religions and things like this, but all of them talk about letting go. Don't worry about things. There's some higher power that is working for you. And this is what I'm saying. I try to say spiritual because the longevity uh information talks about spirituality. It doesn't
Yes.
necessarily talk about Christianity or Islam or whatever. It just says, so it's you have to be connected to something because
Mhm.
this life is tough if you don't tell yourself that things are going to be okay. And I
Right.
think that's what has helped humanity to survive.
Right.
It's not just us in America, it's helped humanity because we've seen that among all cultures
Hmm.
is that they believe that something is greater than them, that can guide them. And
Right.
so anyway, so I think that this faith that you're talking about, that we grew up with, is starting to become evident that,
Hmm.
yeah, maybe that is a blueprint for life.
Right.
So
Right. It's a
wh-
faith of what you can't see yet, and that's the biggest worry for women, is that they can't see the end of this misery that they're going through
yeah.
at this point.
Hmm.
And so
Yeah.
they get up and they do the same things they always did, and they don't get
Yeah.
anything different from that. And I help
Yeah.
them understand, yes, God is still with you. And yes,
Yeah.
do have the faith to understand you'll get to the other side, but there's some changes you've got to make, because the way
Yeah.
you're communicating back to your body right now is it's not liking that,
No,
because your
exactly.
body's going to do something different.
A-
Yeah.
And then, that's what I try to say. Hey, we try to uncover the unseen. So that's
Right.
what the saliva test like. Oh, I am out of balance. Oh,
Yes.
yeah, that's why I can't wake up in the morning because my cortisol curve, I don't have that spike that's supposed to wake me up. So
Right.
drag through the day until noon. And then at night, when I'm dead dog tired, I can't sleep. That's
Yeah.
all circadian rhythm disruption. And I can, and that's you saying, thank you for the saliva testing because I showed you. I think I showed you in our pre-interview. I was like, look, this is what I see every day, all of these disrupted cortisol curves. So
Right.
that's what I want to try and help you do is, hey, I can help you learn how to measure the stress, and it will help you to help the patient to manage, or your client to manage it. So, hey,
Yes.
Rebel, I like to leave time for questions. Uh, I will tell you that I kind of took the month of June off. And I think I told you because I did what I'm telling you not to do. For a year and a half, I've been trying to put this together and podcasts and stuff. And I said, I gotta wait, I gotta take a break, and I gotta refocus and figure out what we're going to do from now on. And so, anyway, so let's see if we have any questions.
Yes, we have a question about how, again, can people reach Miss Jackie?
Oh, fantastic. Faithfullystrongwellness.com.
Hmm.
Faithfullystrongwellness.com. That's how you can reach me. You'll see me on the website, and you'll be able to go through and be able to understand what I can provide you at that time. A lot of times I work with a lot of women who are high performers, and that I think is every woman because she's
Yeah.
dealing with everything every single day, to help them get through the next phase of this transition. It
Yeah.
can be done, but you can find me at faithfullystrongwellness.com.
Yeah. And you talk about high performance. How many women are single parent mothers? How many women
Yes.
their husbands may be businessmen who are gone Monday through Friday and they're raising 4 or 5 kids at home, by themselves. So yeah, almost all I'll say all women are high performers. And look, I also would love for you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, subscribe to my school group because and the podcast because we're going to have more exciting guests like this on, and I'll have the information about how to contact her. And then I think after this, or sometime, uh, Ms. Robinson and I, we're going to talk about how we can incorporate some of my information with her, so that if you're connected to her, you can have access to some of this information through her, and I'll help coach her while she coaches you. So they say every good coach needs a coach. So
Yes.
so if that's okay, that's what we'll do. We have any other questions?
Yes, we have a question on Dr. Taylor. Where do people get the saliva test? How do they do this?
Okay, that's what we're going to tell Miss Jackie. But look, hey, go to the um websites that are scrolling across here, or you leave a comment or whatever, and I'll tell you how you can get that done. All right. Any other questions?
At what age should people consider doing the saliva test?
Okay, I'll answer that. Anytime you feel like you're out of balance and it's
Right.
hormonal, anytime. I just had a patient who was 13, because I'm telling women, you need to be telling your daughters this so that they are prepared for perimenopause and menopause. That's the problem. Women, our mothers and grandmothers, never talked to their daughters about it because they didn't understand it because they were never taught. So that's my ultimate goal, is to teach adults so that they can teach their daughters. And Ms. Roberts, in medicine is see one, do one, teach one.
Yes.
You- And so you can explain what that is, but that's how it was. When you see something, well, you can explain that. And this is what I want women to do. I want you
Right.
to see the pattern. I want you to do the changes, and then I want you to teach someone else. So,
Right.
what do you think about that strategy, Ms. Roberts?
Absolutely, because if you think about it, most women who start going through the change, their parents are elderly or either they're gone. In my case, my mom was gone, so she wasn't here to be able to share it with me. My mom was an RN, and she and I did speak a lot about estrogen replacement therapy because she happened to be on it because she had surgical menopause. And
Hmm.
that opportunity helped me understand more about what she was going through. But at that time, she never spoke to me about it. I
Hmm.
just
Yeah.
learned because of what I was doing because I happened to be selling in the marketplace. But even though
Right.
I knew so much, I still didn't know enough to be able to understand what was going on with me because my symptoms were different. So that's
Right.
where it's important for me to teach others, to learn from Dr. Taylor what he knows, to be able to bring a wealth of information to women who are totally lost right now on what to do.
Yeah.
Faithfully
Yeah.
Strong Wellness makes sure that you understand and know what to do, how to do it, and what to expect as far as the changes that you'll see and how soon you'll see them. A lot of times I see women start having changes within a week of talking to me because just changing a few things in what you're doing every single day can make a difference.
And let me tell you this. I find that 50% of my job is to help patients to understand what's going on with them. Just the
Yes.
understanding calms down the stress. And a
Yeah.
lot of times they say, I'm feeling better and I haven't even done anything yet. Because
Right.
now I know that I don't have some weird disease that none of these specialists can figure out. I had one lady thought she had a brain tumor because she couldn't sleep. It was because her cortisol was too high and her progesterone was too low. So
Right.
that I talk about the cost of hormone confusion. It's a lot of doctors, a lot of time, a lot of co-pays, all of that stuff. So anyway, it's time to go. I know. Please comment, contact Ms. Roberts, contact me. Just do whatever you can to get the information that you need so you can be discerning and take time to listen to what your body is telling you. That's what I
Yes.
think this is all about. Do you have a parting thought, Ms. Roberts?
I would say my parting thought is to let women understand and know that it's it's not over, okay? Don't feel like you have no hope whatsoever. You do
Mm,
have hope. You can have the faith again to move forward and you
mhm.
can get through this change. Do understand, like Dr. Taylor said, it's just a matter of speaking with someone to understand where you are, where you want to be, and how you can get there. Both he and I
Yeah.
can help you. You see what's going on at the bottom with him, and I can tell you he has been amazing since I've met him. And of course, you can reach me at faithfullystrongwellness.com.
Yeah. But again, I'm trying to help you teach other people. So again, you can contact me, but please just subscribe, and so we can continue to have this conversation. All right, Ms. Roberts, thank you so much. If you can hold on after the parting, whatever, we can talk real quickly. All right. All right. See you guys. See you next week. Thank you.
Thanks for joining Dr. Taylor today. If you missed any part of this show, just check out the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Ageless Blueprint is every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time on W4HC Radio at W4HC.com. Together, we discover the ancient secrets to better health through science and spirituality made for modern times. Until then, feel free to check out agelessblueprintpodcast.com and taylormdformulations.com for more information.